like space? Do you like unraveling a mystery in a race against the clock? Do you like thought-provoking commentary on whether we as a species are capable of real change as our Earth burns around us?
Earth is not a lost cause.
Well then, Deliver Us Mars may not be for you. Wasn't expecting that now, were ya? In 2020, I played a stunning game called Deliver Us the Moon, a heartbreaking story about redemption and betrayal, all bound up in a claustrophobic ball of anxiety as you hurtle through zero gravity. I laughed, I cried, I cursed the devs for making me care about characters whose faces I never even got to see. Sure, it had its problems, but it was a great time nonetheless. Its sequel, Deliver Us Mars, is set 10 years after the events of the original, but hasn't quite left the same impact on me. A quick catch-up for those unfamiliar with the series so far. Earth's time is running out, years of environmental abuse finally taking its toll. In a last-ditch effort to save humanity, some of the best and brightest were sent to the moon to secure and develop a new energy source for us. But then the best and brightest turned around and said, yeah, nah, and formed Project Outward.
Welcome to a new dawn.
Abandoning the moon, taking their resources and their knowledge with them to Mars. Isaac Johansson being among them.
I'm sorry.
We step into the moon boots of Kathy Johansson, Isaac's youngest daughter, as she joins a mission headed by her older sister Claire to journey to Mars to track down Isaac and the Ark ships Project Outward stole, hoping their technology will be enough to give Earth a fighting chance.
I believe you'll do everything you can to guarantee the mission's success. Right, Kat?
What they find is a collection of abandoned, run-down bases, and a distinct lack of evidence to suggest things didn't go horribly wrong for our Martian explorers.
That's not a reassuring sign.
No.
Right off the bat, it's clear the focus has shifted to be a much bigger story with a wider scope. The environments are larger and more varied, as is the cast, going beyond the faceless protagonist of Deliver Us the Moon to a fully voiced and animated bunch of characters.
The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Babe, did you prepare philosophical quotes for the entire journey, or?
Only like 5 a day.
Unfortunately, navigating these new areas is hindered with the introduction of a fiddly climbing mechanic. And as enjoyable as the voice acting is, the facial animations have a lot of uncanny valley going on, which can be a bit distracting in heavier moments.
You? Trying anything? Yeah, right. I meant that, like,
Thanks.
you never have to
Come on, Alex.
try.
There's no combat to contend with, so the bulk of gameplay on ground level is made up of walking, reading,
I'll get that down.
climbing, and completing the many laser-aligning puzzles you need to open half the doors. Look, no wonder things went pear-shaped. Moving from one room to the other is a 20-step process.
Okay, now we can reach the wall.
I didn't mind these so much because they're relatively simple to work out while still scaling in complexity as you go. But they did feel a little out of place and brought the natural flow of exploration to a jarring halt.
We've got to jump, Ayla!
The same can be said for the climbing. It's introduced pretty early on, and initially I was excited about this new addition. To go from casual strolling to gut-plummeting drops as you swing your pickaxes into the wall was awesome. But after a while, my patience waned as my fingers cramped from holding the left and right triggers at the same time, all the while trying to convince the game that yes, I am in fact aiming at the very obviously textured wall. What else would I be swinging at? All that to say, I didn't enjoy it as much after Kathy's 6th or 7th fall into the abyss. Looking back, my favourite parts were when she was floating around in space. In these sections, the camera goes into first-person mode, during which flicking buttons and switches from inside the safety of the cockpit was perfectly contrasted with trying to repair a busted engine in zero gravity on a time crunch.
Power's back on. Running diagnostic now.
The claustrophobic isolation of the uncaring void was always just on the edge of my periphery, like a big old death soup just staring me in the soul. Wow, I have a way with words. It's that claustrophobia that helped make the first game so memorable for me. The hallways too tight, too dark, and too empty. You were always a little on edge. Deliver Us Mars, by comparison, doesn't have that same level of identity to me. It's trying to be too many things, a bit mystery, a bit suspense, a bit action, and a bit social commentary, without really dedicating enough time to refining any of those elements into a cohesive experience.
I don't give a damn about Earth.
I won't go into detail about the story itself to avoid spoilers, but suffice to say, I walked away feeling a bit conflicted on the messaging. Most of the characters are well written and wonderfully performed, but some pretty essential plot beats felt rushed and underdeveloped, which made the attempts at the more brutal gut punch moments feel undeserved.
Stop it! Just keep a hold of yourself.
Performance-wise, things did get a bit rocky at times. I played this on the PS5 and had a few noticeable drops in frame rate, while my floating robot companion did their best to either get in my face or avoid the camera at all cost. I also noticed some odd depth of field issues in some of the cutscenes, which would have been funny if it wasn't so distracting.
You diva.
Having sat with it for a few days post-credit roll, I don't think Deliver Us Mars is a bad game by any means. It has lofty goals, and the devs clearly came into this with the idea of expanding the world, using the first game as a jumping-off point to reach greater heights of storytelling, and for that, I commend them. I don't want this to sound like because I love Deliver Us the Moon, I only wanted a clone of Deliver Us the Moon. This was an ambitious undertaking, but I think in the end, it just spread itself too thin, revealing cracks in the foundations that were too hard to ignore. Pass.